everybody, this video is for instructors, wheelchair users, and interested third parties in wheelchair self-defense. This will be a continuation of our last week's video about wheelchair EDC. I kind of mentioned last week that it was going to be a little bit more extreme, and what I mean by that is that I want to show you that the wheelchair, if you think about it that way, can be a pretty significant advantage. You can hide stuff on the wheelchair, you can add extra gear like medical equipment, where toting it around, walking around all day is either totally not practical, or you just can't do it because it's just too bulky or too heavy or whatever. So I'm going to show you kind of what is possible from the wheelchair. I'm not suggesting that I wheel around like this all day or by any means, but I want to show you how much you can conceal in this wheelchair, how far you can take that ideal to an extreme. So the gun belt I'm wearing right now, I wear this concealed. It doesn't take anything to throw a light overshirt on top of it, and maybe you can see my flashlight. I'll just go ahead and take it off so you can see it. But it's just a BDS tactical gun belt. There's nothing special about it. All of my holsters are made by Gunfighter Inc. The cross draw method is currently my favorite for efficiency from the wheelchair. I'm also a big fan of traditional hip carry, but you may not be able to do that depending on your injuries. I've met some individuals because of spinal injuries, they don't have the core control to be able to effectively lean over and get to their pistol and still maintain control of their body really effectively. That's just some people, though. As I'll say over and over again, I don't speak for anybody, even a majority, just the people I've run into, what they've experienced, what they've shared with me. So what I've experienced so far is this is my favorite method of drawing, is the cross draw. Whether that's from an appendix carry, really traditional appendix isn't too bad either. It's still right in the middle of your body. It's easy to get to. But from the appendix, kind of modified appendix carry, more directly over to the side. I don't like shoulder holsters. They move around too much, especially with the wheelchair, the motion of your arms, moving the holster back and forth. But a nice solid platform. This is kind of like half appendix, half hip carry. It's kind of right over my legs. It still conceals without having to button an overshirt. And I have a pistol on each. I have a pistol on each hip because I shoot ambidextrously. I teach people in wheelchairs to shoot ambidextrously if they have the physical capability to do so. If you check out my DVD, I kind of explain why that is. You may not be able to turn and pivot. You may not be able to pivot to present to a specific direction to engage a threat. So being able to work your way into an awkward position with your either hand is pretty important. It's pretty fundamental for learning to shoot from that dynamic, in my opinion. I keep one in both hands because that's where I keep my secondary. It's easier to get to than somewhere else in the wheelchair. So left hand, right hand. That's just how I choose to carry it. So cross draw works really well for me. Another way you can do this is fanny pack carry. So having something in front you can pull open and present. I'm a big fan of the covert draw, being able to draw without really telegraphing via your shoulders what you're doing in your draw, telegraphing, not telegraphing. It has shown to have a lot of tactical relevance in training scenarios and force on force, so I'm a big fan of it. So this type of setup allows you to maintain that ability. I have my flashlight here in front as well. This is a more powerful flashlight that I recommend as a everyday sort of carry. I like this one because it's bright enough. This is a Surefire P2X Fury Defender, and I like it because I have had practical application with the strike bezel. And it's bright enough to still work in a brightly lit Walmart and get the kind of a flinch reaction from it. So it has kind of more application that way. I carry a couple flashlights because I can, though. So the other flashlight I carry, by the way, I don't think I mentioned last week, is the CRKT personal defense light. Just throwing that out there. Right now I have a 20 round PMag for And they are PMAG loaded with XM193 ball 5.56 for my Tavor, and I'll explain the rifle thing in a second. Reloads for the handguns, and my favorite dagger of all time, not my necessarily favorite knife, but my favorite dagger, the Scallywag Tactical Dagger. And I have a video up on my other page, you can look it up, about where I kind of talk about it a little bit. I'll do follow-on videos about all of the applications of kind of how the weird shape and design of the knife, how it fits into self-defense applications. I love the thing. It's also perfectly balanced and throws really well if you look on my other channel. Perfect for no-spin throws, very, very intuitive. So, the big thing to take away from this is cross-draw. In my opinion, it's the most relevant for the most wheelchair users. The most wheelchair users that I've talked to and kind of helped talk through their self-defense, orienting self-defense mentality, their lifestyle, that ends up working for the most people so far. Take it for what it is. So, there's that. So having more stuff, what I'm getting at that is more stuff on your gun belt. You can have kind of more stuff around your middle, and it's not as affecting you as much as walking around with it all. This is my wheelchair cushion, and underneath the cushion, in place of the baseboard, is an AR-500 custom 18 by 18 quarter-inch steel plate. Now, the tactical idea here, if you look at security footage of people in wheelchair robberies, people robbing people in wheelchairs, assaulting people in wheelchairs, what you'll find a whole lot of the time is the first thing that happens to that person, or very close to the first thing, is they are removed from their wheelchair very forcibly. Usually backwards or forwards, probably more forwards than backwards. Occasionally you see side to side, that's usually because of some kind of struggle. But forwards or backwards, you can have that sort of thing. So the idea here is that you can have this underneath your seat. If you have the athleticism to pull this off, you can ditch your chair backwards, ending up on your back to afford a threat that was initially in front of you. And now you have this between you and that opponent as you draw your weapon. So you have makeshift armor. Obviously kind of a last-ditch sort of a thing, but it is tactically viable based on what happens in wheelchair-specific robberies and attacks. So this could be an option for you, if you can't get to immediate cover, which for people who are mobility hindered is right there next to you. If there's not cover right there next to you, you kind of have to make your own cover. So this is kind of an attempt at that. We have some other stuff coming out pretty soon through various manufacturers who have offered to make some custom things, and we'll be experimenting with those. Custom backings for the wheelchair, backpacks with armor plating that ride specifically on the backing, on the backs of wheelchairs. So just some stuff to play with. We'll update as those things come out, and we'll kind of show what we've got, and maybe do some training videos to see how those work, or at least in theory.
Nice.
So, last thing I want to show you is kind of what you can do with your backpack if you use one. Now, this is the first spear. This is the bag that was developed with kind of in conjunction between Noveski and First Spears, their discrete carry bag. I don't remember the exact model name. But, and let me also say that I don't wheel around all day with a concealed rifle on me. That'd be illegal in the state of Tennessee. I'm showing you what's capable. This is kind of more of a range setup, or, in theory, an active shooter sort of thing. Some states don't specify between concealed rifle and concealed handgun. Just throwing it out there. So, take it for what it is. but maybe a ranch rifle, but it's easier to get out if you're actually sitting in it, just pull straight out. But this is my IWI Tavor. I've messed with it quite a bit. You know, I wanted more precision sights on there, so I've got something more mil-spec sights and something that locks into place. A lot of aftermarket parts that are available, like Gearhead Works, their gasport cover here on the side. I got it mostly because of the extra QD mount here. It makes it ride higher in the sling. I use a Magpul MS1 sling, so it sits rather high. So if I have to lean forward in the wheelchair to propel myself forward with more force, my barrel isn't dipping in the dirt, so it sits really nice and high. I don't have to worry about dipping in the dirt. I like the Trichicon RMR optics that don't use batteries. On the same token, the Mepro M21, so no batteries. That's just my opinion. What I like better. The way I got my light set up, it's inside this forend by Manticore, and I've kind of got the Coflex holding the tape switch in. So the rifle's not really important. It's still kind of a work. It's kind of an experiment in progress. What seems to be painfully obvious though is bullpup. I'm an AK fanatic, Rifle Dynamics. I'm an AK fanatic, and I love those guys, and I'll always be an AK fanatic. I like AKs more, but these work better for the wheelchair, unfortunately. I'd love for AKs to work better. AKs aren't bad. If you chop, especially if you do kind of something of a chop job on the front end, like Rifle Dynamics does, to make it a 14.5-inch barrel, etc. It sits high enough where it's not really an issue, but anyone who fires AKs a lot knows that those things get hot, and this is a relatively new cushion. I can't show you on that one. If you look at my old cushion, the whole front end is burned up from dropping that hot AK gas tube and barrel on the front of the cushion. So something to consider is bullpup, and I like the Tavor best among all the rifles I've tried so far, and that's included the AUG and a couple others that I don't really, the FS 2000, I don't know who got the idea. That was a decent idea, but it's a rifle. Try it out if you like it. So the idea here is that you can add gear to the back of your chair too. And I mentioned possibly plating for armor or what have you. Maybe select application. I don't see how much relevant that is, but you can carry extra equipment in your bag, anything you can get to quickly. I've seen a lot of people doing shooting from the wheelchair. If anyone's seen the YouTube channel Retreat Hell, it was a fellow 5th Marines veteran. He keeps his magazines back there. That's how he does his rifle reloads. So that's just something else. You can carry a whole lot of extra gear, and I've got a lot of range gear in here right now. So I got extra mags, slings, eye pro, ear pro, little med kit, what have you. So these things pretty much. You saw how a rifle pretty much disappears on the back of the bag in the right situation. So just show you what's capable from the wheelchair. Some of this stuff's a little extreme. I don't think this is too extreme. It's expensive, but I don't think it's too extreme. I think this actually has tactical value. Obviously this is a little much. There's not a reason that I see anyone in a wheelchair running around with a rifle strapped to their back constantly, concealed or not. But it shows you what you can do. That doesn't add a whole lot to me wheeling around day to day, especially on a relatively flat urban surface. But that could be any number of things that you add to the back end. So just bear in mind that this is what's possible. Play with what you've got. See how far you can take it and what you can bring to your setup, as begin to see your wheelchair as an advantage rather than a disadvantage.